All right. So for this Blender how-to video, I'm going to show you how to make a UV unwrap. It's pretty easy, but it does take a few steps. So let's do it very slowly. Um, One thing is you have to think of a UV unwrap as a 2D projection of a 3D object. So you take a 3D object and with some Blender magic, you create a 2D image of it, and that's what you use to texture, paint on it, and so forth. One thing in Blender is that let's say you have a like a cylinder, right? And if you UV unwrap it, right now we're at the point where it'll automatically do it correctly, where it'll just be uh, one giant rectangle. But before, if you did it without a seam, which was used to like break apart like circular parts, um, it would give you a distorted UV unwrap. So that's what seams are important are used for, is to break apart a 3D object into more manageable parts that can be easier, can be better projected to 2D image and give you less distorted, um, texture. So keep that in mind, and I'll explain how to do all of that because that it's better to show you than to talk about it. So let's go. All right. So first things first, let's create our model, and it's going to be a UV sphere. Press S, right? Press 1, and then X-ray mode. We are gonna select. Oh, go to edit mode actually. Okay, then we're gonna press S, G up, then S like this. Turn on proportional editing S. All right, and now we'll have a top part, a bottom part, and some weirdness here. All right, we'll do a uniform so it's not too bad. But anyway, so one thing we can identify already from the bat is, hey, there's a top part and there's a bottom part, and one, and we could add a seam right here, and I'll show you how to add a seam in a minute, which would break this apart into two parts. So the top part and the bottom half, and when we do your UV unwrap, it would be it would show a better UV unwrap. But let's do a UV unwrap without the seam and show you how bad it is, or I guess not as good as as it would be if we added a seam before we UV unwrap. All right, so let's continue. Go down here to your timeline and switch it over to shade editor. Go up. Oh, make sure this is back in object mode. Let's create a vertical split and go to UV editor here. This is where your UV unwrap is going to go, and this is the 2D representation of your 3D object. And all right, so select your object, go to properties, material. Oh, property expandable material right here. Press new material, and we are going to add Shift A and image editor. Image texture, sorry. Right. Color goes to base color, and press new. Instead of generate type, you're going to create a UV grid, and 1020, 1024, that's fine. Press OK. All right. Now go back to your object, press tab, edit mode, select A. That will select all your faces and so forth. One thing we should add here is go to viewport shading, so it'll show you the grid-like pattern over here. And as you can see, if we do UV unwrapping of this, we're gonna have some distortions, but again, we can fix that. So press everything here, or select everything here when you're in edit mode, and then press U, and you can do a smart UV unwrap, or you can do an unwrap. And if you do an unwrap without any seams, At times you'll also get an error, and it just tells you, hey, add a seam so that I can do a better UV unwrap for you. And let's see, UV Unwrap, Smart Project, it'll do the heavy lifting for us. Okay, and as you can see, yeah, it did a pretty decent job, but it's kind of wonky, so we don't want that. At times, that might save us a lot of time. Go ahead and do that if you need to. Uh, but if you can take a little bit of extra time to do a manual UV unwrap, it will save you a lot more stress and time. So try to get in the habit of it. All right, so press 1, edge mode, C, select all the edges here. All right, then deselect them all right here. Now we have a top part and a bottom part, right? And right click, mark seam. This is going to be the seam that's going to separate our top and bottom halves. And then press A to select everything. Do a UV, Smart UV project, and you'll see that it kind of pretty much ignores the seam. So there's really no point there. Then press U again, unwrap, and now, hey, look, it has a much better UV unwrap, a top half and a bottom half. Select your top half or bottom half, press L, G, and unfortunately, they're kind of connected together, but thankfully they don't really overlap. If this was overlapping into the other UV unwrap here part, then you would have some issues, and I say that as, hey, you have UV parts overlapping, so when you paint one part in one part, it'll paint it over the other part and back and forth, and it's really annoying. So if you can avoid this, you can avoid overlapping, great, but if you can't, and it's just like this, where it's just on the same line, great, you can ignore that. All right, so as you can see, everything worked out pretty well. The distortions aren't bad at all. All the little squares are uniform throughout, so you don't have to do anything else. And this is your UV unwrap. In another video, I'm going to show you how to make your texture map so that you can color. But this is all dependent on being able to create a UV unwrap. So, come back to this video if you need to. And if not, well, good luck. All right. Until next time. And thank you for listening.